Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad. Richey, good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, my contributor, none other than Yasmin Aliya Khan. Should be a fascinating breakdown. Top story of the day, Donald Trump, former president of the United States, has now admitted that he knew the information was in fact classified, according to a recording. Let's go to it.
Breaking news. Trump reportedly caught on tape. Damaging new evidence in the Trump classified documents criminal investigation. CNN is reporting prosecutors have obtained an audio recording of a summer 2021 meeting in which former President Donald Trump acknowledges that he held on to a classified Pentagon document about a potential attack on Iran. The recording indicating Trump understood that he had retained classified materials after leaving the White House. The report adds, on the recording, Trump's comments suggest he would like to share the information, but he's aware of limitations on his ability post-presidency to declassify records. This directly undercuts one of Trump's defenses that he could and that he did declassify everything.
Wait a minute. Donald Trump launched an affirmative defense saying he can declassify with his brain power. However, in this recording, according to the report, he was well aware that the information he had in his hand was not, in fact, declassified information. We have a lot of questions. I will provide some answers, definitely not all of them, because the only person who knows all of the answers is Donald Trump. You're not getting it from him. Remember when Trump said this?
Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there and I took what I took and it gets declassified. Biden, on the other hand, he has 1,850 boxes. He had boxes sent to Chinatown, where they don't speak even English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
It does not say that you can take documents with you. It says actually that they are the property of the federal government.
It says you talk, you negotiate, you make a deal. It's not criminal, by the way. The Presidential Records Act is not criminal. And just so you know,
it does not say you can negotiate to take the documents with you.
Can I tell you? Just so you understand, the Presidential Records Act is not criminal. I took the documents, I'm allowed to.
Obviously, he's completely incorrect about the Presidential Records Act. He has said the information was declassified based on his brain power. And now there is a recording of him in a meeting. And according to those who are close to the story, they said you can hear him literally ruffling papers while talking about this highly classified information. Trump apparently made the admission during a meeting with a group that included his communications aide, Margot Martin, and were helping to write an autobiography of Mark Meadows, Trump's last White House chief of staff. The autobiography later recounted that during the meeting, Trump talked about a 4-page report typed by Mark Milley himself. It contained the general's own plan to attack Iran, deploying massive numbers of troops, something he urged President Trump to do more than once during his presidency. Sources who spoke with CNN disputed that Milley authored the report. Trump expressed frustration that Milley refused to take responsibility for the attack plan and added that if he could release the document, it would undermine Milley's account he gave in July 2021, the article in the New Yorker. Now, we're talking about issues of national security, obviously. The individuals who are named, they have top secret clearance, which means they professionally will lie. Outside of that context, we can always argue about, do we need this hyperactive intelligence dynamic with the country anyway? It's a different argument. Today's argument is about Trump putting himself in jail. That's what the story is today. This is the reason attorneys tell you to shut the hell up when you are under criminal investigation, because what you say, what you submit publicly and willingly can become part of the judicial record. There are multiple ways to get these statements made by Donald Trump himself. There's more. In that telling Milley pushed back against plans by Trump to strike Iran after the 2020 election, telling him at one point, if you do this, you're gonna have an effing war. Smith may be wrapping up his investigation, talking about Jack Smith, into Trump's handling of dozens of boxes of classified material after the special counsel and his prosecutors have interviewed all Mar-a-Lago employees. I said from day one, you don't bring Jack Smith into a case to help you investigate. You bring Jack Smith in to get an indictment and to lead a prosecution. That's why he's here. Once Jack Smith was hired, the writing was on the wall. Now you have Donald Trump, who obviously was well aware he stole classified information. Trump supporters are now trying to spin a narrative that Trump was actually being a whistleblower. What was the purpose of Trump, if the narrative is even true? What was his purpose of releasing the document, of having a meeting, of saying he wanted it to be out in the public, perhaps? It was to undermine one person, okay? This was about ego. This was about Trump, as all things are. At the end of the day, Trump obviously is a charlatan. He has tricked a lot of people. Those who are coming to the awareness of what Trump has done, well, they are basically too far in. They're too deep to turn back. Now you have the Satan as option number 2, okay? This is going to be an interesting dynamic. The only way, in my opinion, that Trump avoids being prosecuted, and I mean significantly prosecuted, is if a deal is struck with the federal government. We shall see. Dear sister, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing with these documents has always been a question of whether or not he knew he was doing something illegal by hanging on to them. I feel like intentionality when it comes to committing illegal acts sometimes seems to matter more times than in other cases. But in this case, it was always fairly obvious that Trump knew what he was doing, if only by the fact that, first he tried so hard to conceal the documents, then he failed to hand them over when the National Archive asked for them back, and then he lied and said that he had declassified them in his head, which makes no sense. But for the holdouts, the people who were still giving Trump the benefit of the doubt, whereas these documents were concerned, this is really nice to have on record finally.
Yeah, and let me say this. I'm positive they have more tapes. What they are likely going to do is wait for Trump to respond, lie, and release another one.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
another one, and another one. Cop City already becoming one of the most unpopular political dynamics in the city of Atlanta receives another PR blow. Why? Because according to The Intercept, police raided the homes of organizers who were posting bond for individuals arrested for civil disobedience. Let's put the pictures up. A heavily armed Atlanta Police Department SWAT team, along with the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, they raided a house in Atlanta and arrested 3 of the residents therein. Their crime, according to The Intercept, organizing legal support and bail funds for protesters and activists who have faced indiscriminate arrest and overreaching charges in the struggle to stop the construction of a vast police training facility dubbed Cop City. There's more. This was a joint operation, as I mentioned. Atlanta cops charged Marlon Scott Couts, Adele McLean, and Savannah Patterson. All of these individuals are board members of the Atlanta Solidarity Fund. They are now charged with money laundering and charity fraud. Let me say this. Back in 2020, a man named Rashad Brooks was shot while running away from the police. It was at a Wendy's parking lot, created significant outrage. Protests happened all over the city. Well, people who were being arrested for civil disobedience, not violent crimes, but civil disobedience, they received bail money from the same group. Many of us coordinated with this group and other groups, including the NAACP, SCLC, activist organizations on the ground. This is part of the normative tradition, the process. There are some who are able to get out, go to jail. And then there are others who are able to utilize their resources to make sure they have a fair trial, to make sure they have a fair opportunity inside of the justice system to state their case. I remember attorneys who were giving out their cell phone numbers, writing it inside of the hands of the protesters so that when they got arrested, they could call those attorneys. I was on the ground, I was right there. This group does good work. I know that based on what happened in 2020 and how they were able to help so many individuals who did not have $20 to their name, but they cared enough to march for justice and change. Now they are arrested. The arrests are unprecedented. Unprecedented attack on bail funds and legal support organizations, a long-standing facet of social justice movements, according to Lauren Reagan, executive director of the Civil Liberties Defense Center. Quote, "This is the first bail fund to be attacked in this way." Reagan, whose organization has worked to ensure legal support for people resisting Cop City, told me, and this is from the author. And there is absolutely not a scintilla of fact or evidence that anything illegal has ever transpired with regard to Atlanta fundraising or bail support. Natasha Leonard did a remarkable job bringing down the various elements of the story. Now you will see permeations of the story that I'm presenting to you. They are typically short, local news. They have these rules about making sure it's balanced with the other side. Well, in this case, they were struggling to find that other side because you cannot find another incident where something like this has happened. And when I tell you what is over, well, while the Atlanta Solidarity Fund has been a crucial resource for activists facing harsh repression for their involvement in Cop City, Stop Cop City movement, the nonprofit predates the movement and has been providing bail funds, jail support, and assistance with legal representation for Atlanta activists since 2020, since the 2020 Black Liberation Uprising. The fund, a project of the registered nonprofit group known as Network for Strong Communities, has also provided grants to support an array of anti-repression work in Atlanta, including to groups working with unhoused trans youth, Black worker-owned cooperatives, and abolitionist community builders. Let me tell you what happens when one of these protests leads to mass incarceration. It's a messy ordeal. You have individuals wanting to help, they don't know who to send money to. And so there's a Cash App you can send money to. Sometimes you have to go to the jail where the organizers are located, hand them cash to get people out. Attorneys are there, activists are there. It's organized chaos, but it's necessary to do what you must in order to get the funds to the jail, right? Anyone who has done this work, you know exactly how that part goes. There's more. In targeting the Atlanta Solidarity Fund, police and prosecutors are attempting to further the groundless narrative that the multifaceted movement against Cop City is a criminal organization enabling profoundly unconstitutional arrest based on no more than association with the resilient anti-racist environmentalist movement. Okay, that's according to The Intercept, according to the writer Natasha. Now, I'm going to give you what they actually are charged with and charged for, meaning the elements of the crime and then the charge itself connected to the elements. The charges indeed risk setting a dangerous precedent in criminalization, bail funds, and legal support networks. Bailing out protesters who exercise their constitutionally protected rights is simply not a crime. In fact, it is a historically grounded tradition, the very same social and political movements that the city of Atlanta prides itself on, said Reagan, the attorney, in a separate press statement. Someone had to bail out civil rights activists in the 60s. I think we can all agree that community support is not a crime. Harry Belafonte, okay? Harry Belafonte, during his years, he remained active, funding movements for justice, for peace. Others engaged in similar activity because of his leadership back then. Wednesday's arrests are just the latest in extreme law enforcement prosecution of the popular Stop Cop City movement. A total of 42 activists are currently facing state domestic terror charges on the flimsiest police claims, while 3 others face hefty felony intimidation charges for distributing flyers that named a police officer connected to the brutal police killing of 26-year-old Forest Defender Manuel Tarrant. Wednesday's arrest comes days after it was revealed by reporters that Atlanta officials have known for some time that the cost of building Cop City to the city of Atlanta would amount to at least $51 million in public funds instead of the $30 million they told us, the $30 million that the city promised back in 2021. Local opposition to the project has been strong, with hundreds of people attending a recent city council meeting to speak out against Cop City during a public hearing. The city council will vote on whether to approve the growing cost of the vast militarized police facility on June 5th, according to The Intercept. Let me say this for full transparency. A few weeks ago, I was appointed to the Cop City Task Force by the mayor of Atlanta. I like the mayor of Atlanta, I have a lot of respect for him. He's wrong on this, okay? I was appointed to that committee. I know the official name of the committee. I don't call it that because that's not what mama them called it. I will call it the Cop City Committee, all right? Given what has continued to happen, given the reality of this movement being rejected by those who live in the city, somebody needs to rip up this damn contract, okay? Mama them in East Atlanta, where this facility is scheduled to be built, they don't want it. They don't want to hear helicopters while there's a mass shooting training. They don't want to see individuals come back and forth in militarized gear. This is not what they want for their community. Nobody posed the question to them. Nobody got their opinion first. I've also said when I accepted the offer that my advocacy would be one way for the community that will be adversely affected. There is no changing my mind. There is no, can you look at it another way? No, unless you are able to convince the community that this is a good faith operation and that their voices are heard. You see, it's real simple. To all of those who are elected to council, this is not difficult, all right? Know who put you there. You're going against your own base. You have a base of progressive voters that voted many of you in, believing that you were different than the corporate agenda represented by those who came before you. This is the part that defines not only your political legacy, but it defines your soul. It's not too late to give the voice back to the community. You all don't own the city. The people do. All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, this just epitomizes and demonstrates for all to see exactly why people are protesting this cop city in Atlanta. This is confirming people's worst fears. If people are worried about fascism, for instance, they should be worried about police forces because a fascist leader is only as strong as the soldiers they have working under them. Whenever you see populist protests being broken up, whether that's here in the United States or abroad, who are the people breaking up those protests? There's a reason why a dictator can't seize power without first winning the support of the military and or the police forces. Those guys, they're the ones on the ground who are doing the dirty work. They're the ones confronting the people. Those cops, I guarantee you, will tell you that they took those jobs because they wanted to serve their communities. Every cop I've ever spoken to, that's the reason that they say why they got into the police force. And many of them probably do believe that. They believe that breaking up protests is part of that commitment by protecting property and protecting businesses, et cetera. But it's too often that we see police officers acting directly and sometimes violently against members of their own communities. And I can only assume that they do it because, politics aside, maybe they think that in the ensuing power struggle between people and government, maybe they'll be on the winning side.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. Juneteenth, just really, 2 weeks away, okay? We're in the month of June. If you don't know what Juneteenth is, you likely know it's at least a black holiday, right? Well, let's put it up, okay? A banner in South Carolina advertising a Juneteenth celebration has been slammed for having only white people on the banner. You're looking at it. This certainly raised eyebrows all over the city. Juneteenth is a national holiday that celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. Earlier this week, WYFF News 4 was sent questions and concerns about two of the banners that featured white and Hispanic individuals and not black people. WYFF News 4's Disney Chan spoke to the founders of the event on Wednesday about the concerns. They said they wanted many ethnicities represented. All right, let me pause on this moment right here, okay? Sometimes individuals believe that it's not real until you get white people to validate it. Yeah, that's how some people think. It's not legit until white people validate it. And you will see in the explanation, there's this struggle with identity. And I'm not just talking about the individuals who organized this. And I'm not just talking about those who are white. I'm talking about everyone, including black people. Yeah. Including individuals who are organizers. There's this issue with identity. And because of that, it shows up in weird ways. What would make you think having a banner to represent Juneteenth featuring all white models or all Hispanic models, but non-black on the banners is a good idea? Well, let's see. All right, the act of putting these banners up and representing them the way that we wanted them represented was really a decision made by Juneteenth GVL. Reuben Hayes, a founder of Juneteenth Greenville, said it was approved by myself as well as my co-founders. And we feel like they bring the right type of messaging of unity, freedom, and love. The images on the flag were very intentional. Pete Lee, co-founder of the Juneteenth GVL, said Wednesday, no matter what you believe, it takes everybody to come together and support and push any vision forward. We have been for so long asking for a seat at the table. We have been knocking at the door for so long to include us. Now that we have a seat at the table, the last thing we want to do is what's been done to us for years is to exclude. You sound silly as hell. You sound silly as hell. And now I invite you on the show. You come on the program anytime, argue your point to me. Let me tell you why that sounds silly. You think a banner is a seat at the table? Sir, you're proving you don't even know what to do with the damn seat if you ever got to the table itself. Now, I agree. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. But this is a celebration of ancestors who overcame one of the most diabolical designs of oppression on planet Earth. And to take the celebration away from the Black ancestors who experienced this level of evil and hatred and say it is now time to be commercial, because that's what you're doing. It is the commercialization of Juneteenth. And I knew this would happen as soon as I saw Juneteenth ice cream inside of Walmart. I said, it's over with, okay? There's more. Juneteenth, GVF posted an apology, let's put it up. The apology says, while concerns, confusion, and conversations were brought to the team's attention, we wanted to ensure action was taken before we responded, the post said. Thank you for all of your support. May we continue to celebrate. All banners were removed. Does that make you feel better? All right, insane. So I really would like, and I'm putting this out there intentionally, I really would like one of those organizers to come on the show and explain to me, maybe you would get me to see this differently. I have a whole lot more I could say about it, but I'm going to reserve it for the opportunity for us to at least talk, okay? All right, this is the thoughts here.
That Juneteenth ice cream, it's not real until it can be commercialized. So I guess it's real now. You know, here in the Houston, Galveston area where I live, Juneteenth has always been a pretty big deal. But it feels like only recently that the rest of the country has really got hip to what the day is and what it represents. I could be mistaken, I'm not really sure.
You are correct.
Yeah, so as far as, concerns, confusion, and conversations go, you almost have to wonder if they weren't intentionally trying to confuse people who were inevitably confused by the billboard. Because why did that billboard go up in the first place? Who approved it in the first place? They must have known that it was going to lead to these nationwide conversations that we're having. So if they were trying to downplay or minimize the impact of Juneteenth and what that means specifically for Black Americans in a very all lives matter kind of way, they shot themselves in the foot.
Really did. And sometimes leadership comes down to who you are willing to offend, who you are okay with offending. And so this action tells me that you were okay with offending the very community that this celebrates. Let's start with that point when you come on the show and explain yourself. All right, we got more. On the other side is indisputable stick and stay. All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Always good to have you. Let me read some of these amazing comments. I Am Sock says, let's throw all of our money at defense spending and then have the commander-in-chief toss around all of our military secrets. What could go wrong? The former commander-in-chief at that. Jeff Test Pilot. When is someone going to try and balance the numbers? With the enormous amount of money and loans that Trump has coming due in 2024, I wonder why he was still in classified material. I still believe that's probably that is the high joker, all right? That he was trying to leverage these documents for something. All right, Puff the Dragon. It's funny though, people are worried about the police state now when we as Black people have only known that and only been saying it for years. Now that it affects everyone, it's time for a change. That's that adage about when they knock on your neighbor's door and you say nothing, right? Good point. Jeanette Villalona, member for 11 months. Thank you so much. Dr. Richey always love being here. Your show is always on point. Well, we thank you. We appreciate your support. Smiling Faces, member for 4 months. Thank you. This is one of my favorite shows. I watch you every day, and I want to say keep up the great work, Doc. Well, thank you. Iron sharpens iron. All right, we appreciate you. Jackson Cruz, thank you for that, Jackson. If Trump declassifies by using his brain power, and the docs aren't declassified, just proves Trump has no brain power. I like that. All right, and let's go to All right. Who's your daddy? This is clear and obvious obstruction of our rights as Americans. Talking about the organizers being arrested. And Hunger Games _1989. Of course, South Carolina would find a way to make the end of slavery about white people. All right. Hell of a thing, isn't it? Okay, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
It doesn't, because you're the penis! Right? Because I'm the vagina in the matter! Tell me I'm wrong!
You're good.
Tell me I'm wrong! How does that matter? I want to know. How does that matter?
That never got brought up in the conversation. Never. That never got brought up in the conversation. You're not going to touch me. You're not going to touch me. If you touch me again, you're going to jail. Conversation's done.
Walking away. I tried my best. No, I tried my best, but I'm walking away.
How does that apply? The fact that I have a vagina. He has a testicle.
Go away. Go away.
I'm not touching you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
Okay, this conversation.
I am asking you. I am asking you. I am asking you to have a conversation. I am asking you.
I'm sort of watch this.
I am asking you.
You're being covered by the
I got you.
No.
No kidding. Give me another minute over Pennsylvania, please.
Oh, yes. I am asking you.
Goodbye. Please.
No, I'm asking you. What are you asking? I am asking you. He needs the letter. I am asking you. How does it work?
I'm not American.
I would have been shot dead right there. If I acted that way with a police officer, they would have had something for me. It is good to know that police officers actually understand the element of de-escalation. It is good to know that police officers possess the capacity of self-control. Let's put it up full mass. You see, in the video, the officer said, if you touch me again, I'm going to arrest you. Well, she did. There was no arrest. That's called battery, simple battery, unwanted physical contact. Not obeying a direct lawful order. You have yourself an obstruction charge. Stopping the movement of a law enforcement official. Well, now you may start getting into felony territory. Not even the hint of aggression from the cop. She gets nothing. No taser, no mace, not even, man, put your hands behind your back. None of it. All right. I really did not need to provide a commentary for this because it really speaks for itself that certain individuals who have a particular appearance, they're treated differently. But law enforcement officials will say, oh, no. We treat everyone fairly. There is no racism in law enforcement. When we have cops who come on this show, like Tatum, and debate that racism, he's never really met a racist cop before. Okay. You see, the bias, if that makes you feel more comfortable, doesn't have to be hyper aggressive. Doesn't even have to be known to the individual. It can exude from their unconscious bias against individuals and the unconscious preference they give to others. We call it privilege. What did you see here? All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, the obvious point here is so obvious, but it's a little painful. It's kind of sad to see that this is even a headline because this is kind of what's supposed to happen. This is how these interactions are supposed to go. There's no unnecessary violence, there's no deadly force, even though we could argue that in this particular case, an arrest would have been warranted. But this type of audacity, it shouldn't be a privilege, really.
Yeah, all right. I got something for you. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Okay, I'm telling you to put your hands on me. Respectfully, if I get you, can I put everything on this floor, bitch? That was easy. Sorry, bitch. I lost my family. That's you. You want the food? Take the food. You got the food, bitch. I'm leaving.
In this particular scenario, the Karen is hurling the N-word. The Karen is requesting a physical fight, combat, and Christmas came early. Here it is. See, I don't like it when things like this happen. I am against violence. I'm for self-defense. Let's put up the picture full mass. All right. Okay. At some point, because she was given a lot of grace, we cut the video because it was much longer. At some point, you have to realize, Karen, you're being given a gift of grace by being allowed to just leave, to threaten people and call them the N-word and walk out. You could have done so. You may have still been highlighted on a few social media pages, but you would not have received that end result. The audacity, obviously, to be racist and violent and then act as if somehow everybody else is absolutely wrong. Karenicity 101. First lesson they learn typically. Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, I guess what makes a Karen is the entitlement and the fearlessness. I would never approach anybody this way. I wouldn't even think to do so.
Yeah.
So just the fact that this woman is acting this way in public and then, actually reap some consequence for her actions is, it's like strangely gratifying, but it's also like we shouldn't be using violence in this kind of way. And unfortunately, I think that the woman who actually did end up using physical force is going to be the one who comes across as the aggressor in this case, even though from the whole situation, we can see that that's not what happened.
Oh, not at all. Self-defense, pure and simple. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. Show left. I got a big announcement. I want you to tune in to TYT's Pride special. That's Thursday, June 1st, today, 8 p.m. All right, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be joined by many guests, all right, including Miranda Skoll, Marissa Matthews, many others, hosted by the big homie John, Adrian Lawrence, okay? These are topics facing the LGBTQ plus community. This is important. The reason why we have a coalition is because a coalition is like this. If you don't want to be connected, you are this, all right? But a coalition is this. It requires us all working toward the goal of absolute justice, opportunity, and equity in the United States of America. We do hope you tune in. All right, let me read some of these amazing comments. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says that cop should have felt like his life, that she was threatening his life. She got right up in his face. She touched him. Why didn't he shoot her? Because he feared for his life. The reason he did not shoot her, and you know this, I know you submit this in sarcasm. The reason he didn't shoot her is because she looked like somebody he respects. And because of that, he treated her as if she had a soul, that she was a human being. That's what happened, okay? All right, Text Stan says, you're a better man than me, Doc. I love it when Karens get the violence they deserve. Big ups to the clerk who dumped her on the sidewalk, well played. Well, I gotta say this, it was self-defense, all right? I appreciate any time somebody's able to ward off an attacker. YouTube. Lemon Lime Lucky. This bias needs to be put under magnifying glass by we the people, talking about the Karen and the cop. I got a question for you. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
Fascinating. Tea Party Lou, Trump supporter. Good day, welcome.
I have tried to explain that many times.
Yeah, you tried to explain that Donald Trump had Iran documents and he was trying to. Well, I mean,
I think you're like a greyhound chasing a fake rabbit around and around and around in circles.
What's the fake rabbit? But tell me what the fake rabbit is. Which one? What is it?
Well, these are distractions. I think a few weeks ago it was that Trump knew how to declassify things.
Well, Trump said he can declassify things with his mind.
Okay, well, but he knew the procedures. So what?
But I'm asking, he said he can declassify things with his mind. Is that protocol?
Do you want me to explain or not?
But I'm asking you a question. I do want you to explain. Can Donald Trump declassify? No, I mean, can Donald Trump declassify with his brain? Can he do that?
Well, he can. He is in charge of declassifying things.
Well, not really. No, that's not how it works. He's not in charge of it. He does have charge over it. Okay, and there's a process that has been statutorily adopted by the United States government, passed by Congress, signed by law, codified through executive action. The question is, did Donald Trump or can Donald Trump actually declassify with his brain by just thinking about it? Because that's what he said.
Well, that's not what I'm trying to talk about. And
I understand that, but that is what I have posed as a question. I posed it as a direct question to you. That's what the man said. Can he do it or not?
He gets to declassify. He's in charge.
But he said he could declassify with his mind.
Okay, so here you've wasted.
Oh, I don't waste nothing, ma'am. I get off air at 10 a.m. every day.
All right, listen, I have more, but let me explain what's happening. On my morning show, I host Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. Conservatives like to call my show and debate me on particular topics that I'm talking about for the day. Normative, it's talk radio, right? Tea Party Lou is a special case. Tea Party Lou will literally try to call my show every day. She is probably one of my biggest fans, all right? I posed the reality of Donald Trump having the meeting where he said he knew the documents were in fact classified, all right? And the reason I'm highlighting this on Indisputable is because it gives you a real glimpse inside of the mind of a Trump supporter right now with all of this overwhelming evidence and commentary, narrative, and the lack of believability of the man in the center, Donald Trump himself. But it doesn't stop Trump supporters from being ride or die for Donald Trump. Here's more.
What things are in the news What things are in the news that
Duck,
come out
dodge, deny, and deflect.
That's what you do. That's what
No,
Jack
ma'am.
Smith does.
Not at all.
Jack Smith is the obstruction of justice.
Jack Smith is the problem.
To let me explain. You'll go down
please
some
explain.
rabbit hole.
No, please explain. Tea Party Lou, listen, you're becoming unglued. I'm concerned about you. I know you're upset, Tea Party Lou. All right? Your master is going to get indicted and he's going to be prosecuted.
He's being indicted by the Klan if that's what happens. There's no more evidence than that.
Damn.
That man raped that white woman.
Well, you all
ride with the Klan.
I got to say this. Tea Party Lou, I got to say this. All right?
You
and
run
this is absolutely from the heart. You all are riding for Donald Trump. I owe Obama an apology.
We're riding with the truth.
I owe President Obama an apology. We never rode for Obama like this. We never did. Probably should have.
Yes, you do. You're covering up for him right now.
I'm covering up for who?
You are covering up for Barack Obama.
Who am I covering? I'm covering up. Well, damn, Barack Obama is now a criminal?
I would explain if you would allow. But
okay, go ahead. So Obama is a criminal. Donald Trump.
Stand the truth.
Donald Trump is simply being indicted and prosecuted by the KKK. All right. Okay. I see what reality is happening in your brain.
It's the Democrat Party.
Oh, I know it's tough. It was tough to engage on my show. But it is necessary for us to go down this damn rabbit hole to understand what we're dealing with. There's more.
Got it.
Can I explain, or are you running away again?
No. I run from nothing. I laugh at foolishness.
Yes, you do. You run every single time.
No,
can you let me explain?
Yeah, as much as you can. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, madam. Yeah.
Okay. Jack Smith is putting out leaks, fake leaks.
Yeah, they always put out leaks.
See, there you are. You cannot allow.
Why are you getting so upset? Why are you so mad? Why are you so upset? Tea Party Lou? It's too early for that.
Am I upset?
Yeah, why are you upset?
Because I just think you do such a disservice to your community.
Why you listen to me every day then if I do such a disservice?
Because I want to try to get the truth out.
Okay, well, continue then, madam.
Will you let me? I think you
madam,
will not
you have told nothing but lies since you've called the show.
Nothing but lies. What have I lied about? Jack Smith was.
You said Jack Smith is the KKK. Donald Trump.
No, I'm saying
you refuse to answer if Donald Trump can declassify with his brain, like you said, because you're afraid of what the truth is.
That's a stupid thing to.
It's a stupid thing to say. It's a stupid thing to say. It's a stupid question. You got to be kidding me. It's a stupid thing to say.
You're wasting time.
It's a stupid thing to say, and you know it.
All right, I promise you, a few seconds more. Here it is.
Your brain is messed up.
I think you are. You cannot.
Listen, look at yourself. Look at yourself.
No, you can't. Look at myself.
You sound like a crackhead.
I think there you are. You can't discuss it. You can't.
Have a good day, ma'am. It's just sad. It's just so pitiful. Get yourself together, woman. The man is going to jail. He's going to get prosecuted. Deal with it.
He's going to the pokey. All right. Now, remember, I'm doing a little bit of comic relief. It's early in the morning. She called in with the foolishness, hot and heavy, and decided to have a little fun with it. But it absolutely gives a real insight into their level of indoctrination, because they will literally move the moral compass in order to make sure Trump fits inside of their worldview. They change how they perceive the world, how they believe morality should work. They would change how they think ethics should be applied based on the behavior of one man named Donald Trump. There are things they will praise Donald Trump for, but would disown their children for. That is called occultic indoctrination. And it is important for us to understand what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with a simple political movement where there's a good faith debate about ideas and policies, and we have genuine disagreements. That is not what we're dealing with. And it is important to have that context while we engage and while we debate. All right. Yasmin, I know that was painful, but thoughts?
Yeah, that was crazy. I think it's telling how much time and energy people put into being this ignorant and this passionate about it. And the irony is that she accused you of wasting your own time. You're the one getting paid to have that conversation, not her. She's the one listening to you regularly and the one getting upset, raising her own blood pressure over this. She didn't have to call. She chose to call. And I have to wonder if this is some kind of like Fox News syndrome where they become so addicted to their outrage that they not only cling to it, but now they're seeking it out. She came after you.
Yeah, not advised. A 95-year-old grandmother was tasered by the police and died. And the taser had a camera connected to it because that's the way the device works. And now the police department, they want tasers that no longer have that camera. Let's put up the picture full mask. Okay, you see this? New South Wales police force, they're now trading out their current tasers for a different model, one that does not include the built-in cameras. This change comes weeks after the death of a 95-year-old great-grandmother who was blasted by a cop, Claire Noland, who used a walking frame and suffered from dementia, had fallen, hit her head after she was tased, okay? She was allegedly tasered by a senior constable, Christian White. This individual was inside of a care facility on May 17th. He has been charged with recklessly causing grievous bodily injury or harm, and he's also charged with assault and actual body harm and common assault, which are charges in New South Wales. He is expected to fight the charges. He remains suspended from duty, but he's still getting paid. Let's put up the picture of the grandmother again, the great-grandmother. Can you imagine anything this beautiful woman could do that would cause you to kill her, to taser her? Nothing. There's nothing. I don't care what she's experiencing. I don't care what break from reality she may currently be in at that moment. There is nothing that can justify doing this to that woman. But they did. And now the industry known as policing in New South Wales, they are engaged in a very American-like cover-up, trying to change out the very device that told on them. There's more. Leading up to the incident, police were called to Mrs. Nolan's nursing home, where staff saw her wielding a knife in the early hours of May 17th. Mr. White, 33, allegedly asked Mrs. Nolan to drop the knife before saying, "No, bugger it," and deploying his taser. The incident is being investigated with footage of the encounter expected to be crucial. Why do we care? I want to put this in proper context. Why do we care that she had a knife? Why? She has dementia, okay? It is at least contributory negligence to allow someone with dementia to have access to weapons. You have a system failure here. And then the police are called. The police are called to address a system failure by allowing a woman who's 95 years of age inside of an assisted facility location access to a knife. And she's now dead. There's more. Let's put it up. The current taser is the X26PS, which discharged 50,000 volts once deployed. It features an integrated camera, which is automatically activated when the weapon is used. But this week, police have confirmed those tasers that provide that level of transparency have been discontinued. And the new Taser 7 is now being rolled out to officers across the region. Taser 7 can be integrated with body-worn vision, and NSWPF is working with companies to develop a holster activation device, which will ensure BWV turns on when the taser is drawn. However, that requires police to actively turn on their body-worn cameras at the time of an incident, and there is no penalty if you do not. Sad all the way around, but this is becoming so normative. This is becoming so, just another day at the office. You killed somebody's great grandmother who had dementia. You can't be proud of this. To the facility who provided the atmosphere where the knife was even available to somebody like this that you're supposed to be taking care of. You can't feel good about this. This is not a win. And to the officer, even if you get off, sir, even if you are not found guilty for what you have done here, that's no win for you, for the society, definitely not for the family that you have adversely impacted forever. Use sense, even if you don't have decency, and if you don't look at people as people, at least use some wisdom about yourself. Now you're caught up. All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, why are they always holding fish like in that picture? Okay, let's say that this was an accident for argument's sake. Let's pretend that they understand and acknowledge that this should not have happened. If that was the case, they would have done what they could do to make sure that it didn't happen again. Like what you were talking about, this is a systemic thing that could have been addressed systemically, whether that's more training or better oversight, either at the facility or amongst the police force, whatever. This didn't have to be the response. This is a response that reeks of guilt, and it does not suggest any feelings of remorse. It's classic sorry we got caught behavior as opposed to sorry this happened behavior. Bad behavior doesn't stop or go away just because you can't see it, but they will still try to hide it.
That's right. All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Let me read some of these comments. Okay. YouTube. Easy money sniper. These people have serious mental illness. They have actively vote. They actively vote and pay for people to vote against their own interest. Yeah, they do. K Harper. A second. Yeah, K Harper. They shouldn't be allowed to have tasers without cameras. Talking about the cops that tasered the 95-year-old great grandmother. Sorry to hear this about this elderly woman. What could she have done to make you fear for your life? 95 years old, walker, dementia? Question mark. I agree. And let's do one from Twitch. Talking about the encounter with the Trump supporter. All right. Neon Death 07. This woman, brain rotted. About enough said. Okay. Trolls really upset by the fictional character being played by somebody with dark skin. It is fascinating. Let's put up the picture. Wow, full mass. Okay, the highly anticipated live action remake of The Little Mermaid, starring Halle Bailey, was garnered a strong opening. And it has been significant at the box office. You got a 3-day opening of 95.5 million. And a 4-day projection of 117.5 million. However, overseas, the launch has received attention for so-called review bombing in areas such as France, Korea, and Germany. This is largely believed to be the work of internet trolls. While the Rob Marshall-directed update has a 95% verified audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, film ratings websites overseas, including IMDb in the UK, Brazil, and Mexico, as well as in France, posted advisories, during the rollout when negative user reviews appeared in questionable abundance. So let me give you some examples. In France, where Little Mermaid launched on Wednesday, one wrote, "We are currently observing an unusual distribution of scores which demands the need for caution." In other words, don't believe the scores. We encourage you to make up your own mind about the film. While not unprecedented, this is a rare move. To be fair, critics at some respected outlets, including Liberation, Premiere, and Les Inrocuptibles, did not like the movie, giving it just 1 star. On IMDb, a warning reads now, our rating mechanism has detected unusual voting activity on this title. To preserve the reliability of our rating system, an alternate weighting calculation has been applied. That note appears on the US and Canadian sites, as well as those for the UK, Brazil, and Mexico and Germany. Movie Pilot showed a rating of 0.7 out of 10 before the release, far lower than any comp title. Traction increased throughout the weekend. It moved it to 5, all right? And the list goes on. Korea's SBS News reported heading into the weekend that the film had been subject to ratings terrorism in an article whose title Korean entertainment website ZapZ translated to backlash against Black Mermaid. Appearance ridiculed, ratings drop in 1 day. On the ratings portal, Korea's neighbor, over the past several days, there had been a trend of negative reviews receiving hundreds of likes and positive reviews getting hundreds of thumbs down on the day of the release. The score was simply 1.96, which has since evolved to 6.67. And in China, it's just a disaster. There is no audience score at all. Unusual for the film. Already in release for several days, the box office through Sunday is dismal. You have 17.7 million, which is 2.5 million in translation. All right, let's put up the picture. The internet is outraged and confused, obviously, over the New York Times tweeting a review by culture critic Wesley Morris, which called for more kink, K-I-N-K, more kink in the PG-rated children's movie. The review also claims the film reeks of obligation and noble intentions. Reeks of obligation and noble intention. Wow. When I first saw this, Yasmin, I said, well, this is racism, all right? And then I looked at all of this fallout across the whole planet. People who are really upset about a fictional character being played by a woman of color. We've seen these fringes before. We've seen individuals do this, and we can basically calculate, okay, it's one group, probably one social media page got hold of it, they decided to bomb it. This is worldwide. So this attack has been quite sophisticated. And they're not only going after the reviews, they're going after your comments, your thumbs up, your support of the movie. Why do you think this is so important to individuals to create chaos just because a Black actress or an actress of color receives a role playing a fictional character?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like what we were talking about earlier, where it's very interesting whenever you have so many people who put so much time, so much energy into being angry about something that really, really doesn't make a difference, really doesn't matter in the long run. This is you choosing to be angry about something that really shouldn't affect you. And reviews are one of those things that at best, they're well-intended and they can be helpful when they're used correctly, but they can be weaponized in a way like what we're seeing right now, and they can ruin the hard work of a lot of really, really talented people. And it's sad because these ratings will likely follow the movie in perpetuity unless, sites like IMDb actually does something about them.
Yeah.
And, I haven't seen the movie yet, and personally, I have mixed feelings because I don't support reboots and all these remakes that are happening in Disney. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, but I did see Halle Bailey's rendition of Part of That World, and I thought she did a really, really good job, and I thought it was really sweet, and I thought she looked really good. I don't know how I feel about that Scuttlebutt song though. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's not good. It's really hard to listen to. It's bad.
Well, I have not heard it. But let me say this also about the context of the movie and the character. Mm-hmm. This is, in my opinion, this is more about images. We have long said in the Black community, we need to have more positive images on camera, right? You have media, you have movies, you have shows that will depict Blackness in a way that's adversarial to truth, it's adversarial to decency, it's adversarial to respect. And so we have said, listen, we got to have more of these good characters or these positive characters for the community to express the diversity in the community authentically. And there was pushback from Hollywood, pushback from others who said, oh no, the narrative is not against Black individuals. This to me proves that the racist individuals who decided to do this are well aware that image on television is important. And they don't want any image on television that takes away from the image of a traditionally white actress, all right? Traditionally, that's who would play that role. Bus driver, hell of a thing, allegedly duct tapes a child to restrain them. Let's put up the picture full mass. This is not the first time we have covered stories like this. It is so unfortunate. An Upper Darby, Pennsylvania school bus driver faces a number of charges after allegedly using duct tape to restrain a 10-year-old. The incident occurred in March while en route to the elementary school. 45-year-old Juliet Pratt has been charged with unlawful restraint, false imprisonment, endangering the welfare of a child, and assault. Delaware County DA Jack Stolzheimer says, and I quote, bus drivers are entrusted with enormous responsibility every time they get behind the wheel, in addition to being safe drivers. We also expect them to treat the children in their care with dignity and respect. Using duct tape on a child who was already fully restrained in the vehicle's harness was not only inexcusable, it was also dangerous. Let's put her picture up again, because she obviously believes she's the police, because the cops would have got away with it. To duct tape someone in front of others the way she did, it signals to me this may not have been the first time, possibly, just my opinion. The DA explained that there had been an accident. The 10-year-old boy, if there was an accident, 10-year-old child would not have been able to free himself, okay? Which is true, it created a hazard. On March 8, 2023, officers with the Upper Darby Police Department responded to Hillcrest Elementary School in Drexel Hill after reports of a 10-year-old getting assaulted by a bus driver. An investigation involving the review of video surveillance showed Pratt allegedly used duct tape to restrain the student by wrapping it around his chest and ankles. According to the DA, the student was already seated on the bus in a safety harness supplied by the district. Then, when the bus arrived at the school, Miss Pratt, the bus driver, used a seatbelt cutter to remove the duct tape restraining the child, the DA noted, adding that the student was never seen trying to get out of his seat or move around the bus. There was simply no excuse for this conduct, which is why these charges have been filed, according to the DA. Bus drivers are beautiful people. One of my mentors is a bus driver. He's a retired bus driver today, actually drove me when I was in elementary school. Beautiful people. My uncle, bus driver. Then you have some people like this who are not, obviously. And yes, that is significant abuse to a child to be basically kidnapped, all right? All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, it takes a special type of person to even consider using duct tape on a child in the first place. That's not a normal response to bad behavior. And a person who resorts to that sort of behavior should not be around children at all, let alone as a professional who is responsible for the safety and well-being of children. And they had safety harnesses for these types of incidents, and she still resorted to duct tape. It's unacceptable.
Extremely unacceptable, I agree. A few months ago, I highlighted one of my mentors who passed away, one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my natural life. Let's put it up full mass. His name was Tommy Dortch Jr. Tommy was on the board of trustees at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia. I received my second doctoral degree from Clark Atlanta University. The president of Clark Atlanta is one of the greatest college presidents in the history of our nation. That is my absolute belief. His name is George French. Tommy Dortch Jr. now has an honor at Clark Atlanta University. The National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Clark Atlanta University, they have launched the Thomas W. Dortch Jr. Institute for Leadership, Civic Engagement, Economic Empowerment, and Social Justice. He passed away at the age of 72 earlier this year. He was a leading businessman and community advocate for over 40 years. It was this man, the man you're looking at right now, who taught me that I never had to sell out to corporate America, that I could be just as authentic as I choose to be without concern of others controlling me or my truth or the truth that needs to be said by way of money. He taught me not to be motivated by money. He taught me how to check egos and how to navigate them when necessary. He was a beautiful man. I miss the simple things like just going to a football game. So now he has this institute named after him because he provided the path for many of us who were trying to figure out, how do we check corporate America? How do we check these institutions that are supposed to be open to Black progress but are not? And how do we do it in a way that is effective, that sticks, and that actually helps those who are coming up? It was Tommy Dortch who created avenues for Black women in the city of Atlanta decades ago when nobody was trying to create those avenues. The historic partnership between Clark Atlanta University and the NCBCP is intended to expand, deepen, and strengthen the work in the South and establish a Southern regional office on the campus of CAU. Powered by an initial $1 million investment, the NCBCP, TWD Jr. Thomas Dortch Institute will provide internships, graduate assistantships, and fellowships for undergraduate and graduate students at CAU and other HBCUs in the South, with a focus on voting rights, racial justice, economics, and other social justice issues affecting Black and other communities impacted by systemic racism and social injustice. I am proud to sometimes lecture at Clark Atlanta University. I have a great relationship with the leadership there. It is important to do things like this to keep the legacy alive, not simply the legacy of a man, but the legacy of what he believed, what he taught, what he instilled in others. To that, I salute Clark Atlanta University, President French, Dr. French, Clark Atlanta University, and the entire team. All right, Yasmin, you know these moments are important.
Of course, yeah, it's always great to see deserving people be honored in meaningful ways like this, in ways that actually speak to their legacy. And not only that, but they actually help to continue the work that these people started. And I love that message about learning how to navigate an industry like this one, or really any industry, in a way that's authentic. I think it's very easy to get into a line of work because you believe in the work, and then it's very easy to get sidetracked, distracted, maybe by money, maybe by clout, maybe by career advancement, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you always have to come back to your own personal why you're doing something. And at the end, that's what's gonna guide you to help, build that legacy and to actually better your community and the people in it.
That's right, well said. Tommy was always feet on the ground. He was on the side of the activist, and there was no changing his mind. Much love. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at YazK with 5 Z's, YAZZZZZK. And you can find my work on the YouTube channel for the TYT breakdown. All my stuff is there.
Always a pleasure. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.